You can put the county, but you can also leave that so it'll pull up what's happening throughout the state. So let's see. We'll just do Alachua. Let's see what happens. All right. There's a bunch. Okay. Now,
like
keep in
he's
mind,
Superman.
there's two Ezra Stricklands too. We're just going to press on this one. Oh, actually. Okay. And, oh, we don't want that one. Hold on. All right. So we can see, and it does take some navigating, but it can give you a lot of information. So this guy, look, we've got 19, 19, 19, 19, 19, 19, 18, 18. He's been pretty busy. 18, 18, 11. So there's a gap here, 2011, 2018. So it's kind of like when you notice gaps, or, you know, you can see trends in types of charges. The great thing too is that you can press on, let's press on the last one, this case, see what's happening, press on the case, and you can pull up the document here, document, there it is, and print it out. So if you use the system, you can like pull up arrest reports, and that gives you a ton of information. And you have it for your file, and you don't have to hunt things down, right? It can also tell you what's happening with the case, if they're evaluated, if they've gone to state hospital, if they come back. If you look at some of their history, you can tell if they've been to state hospital before, if they've been evaluated before. So it can give you like really simple information that you may not get otherwise, which is the next court date, who the attorney is. So criminal history and knowing your client, look up that because
So you can also track the court date, when the next court date is being scheduled,
yeah.
the current attorney,
Mhm.
because the attorneys change for some of these folks over time.
Depends on the
Attorneys leave the public
county.
defender's office and,
It depends on the county,
yep,
yeah.
okay.
The counties are responsible for putting information in this, so some counties you can't pull up the documents, most you can. So counties will put information, it all goes into the system. Alachua County is pretty good about every little thing, but there's some counties that you can't pull up the documents. But it'll give an outline of the case, so. Now, why is it important to know the client's criminal history?
Could have effect on the outcome of this case.
Could have an effect. It could give you a clue on if they're malingering, like say they're acting like they don't know the criminal justice system and they've been in prison 7 times. You know, it's kind of like, huh. Or that maybe they're 45 and they all of a sudden have a mental illness and they don't have any, like, it's kind of unusual unless they have a head injury or something. Or, or guess what? They've been violent in the past. You might want to know that information because you might have to go and do home visits. And you may, or you can look up, to be like, I think this is kind of fun part. You get to be investigator and look up things like, say they were, charged with drug offense. You kind of know what substances and what their influence is and what drugs do. Maybe they're violent because of these drugs, but it it's good to know that kind of information, which you may not get otherwise, because a lot of the information we have is self-reported, right? So you wanna empower yourself to do your job to the best of your ability, and it's empowering to know this background information. So when I email you next week, I'll email you the form so you can have access. Okay. So understand the perspective of the person, serve client-centered. So you want a plan that the client is on board with. You want their perspective. Now, I was working on a case out in Lake County, which is, or not Lake County, Columbia County, which is Lake City, and they evaluated and said, well, this guy can be on conditional lease. But the guy, he was like, I don't want to be on conditional lease. I'm not doing it. I'm going to do drugs as soon as I get out, and F you guys, right? So that kind of plays a key component, because as soon as they get out, they're going to do drugs or whatever. So you want to have that perspective of the client. You want to meet them in the middle, because it's going to be them putting in their part on the conditional lease or whatever you're doing. Be aware of the legal situation, look up the criminal history, the clinical situation, like what works for them, what's worked in the past, what hasn't worked in the past.
So he just wanted to stay in jail because it was preventing him from doing the job?
No, he just said he wasn't going to do any conditions. So I kind of believed him too. So, yeah. So be aware of the financial situation, because if they need housing, if they need anything like that, you have to figure out who's going to pay for it. So that's benefits too. Like medications and all that, you need to be aware of those things. Interviewing, as Erica said, you need to make sure that the client knows that if you're monitoring their forensic conditions, that you have a duty to report too. And you need to make that clear right up front. Because it can, like later on, you think everything's good, but then what if they violate? They need to know that you have to do it. You're still always promote their recovery. Hey, I want you to succeed. But when I have to do this, I may have to report to the court. But if you're trying, we'll get it, I'm going to work with you and I want you to succeed. Always be on board with that. But make it clear you have to report. But don't be punitive, like you're trying to catch them doing something. You still want to be on their side. Use evidence-based models such as motivational interviewing, trauma-informed care. So, interacting with the court, I'll tell you, all the courts are different. Every single one is different here in the state of Florida. My advice to you is to figure out how your court works, figure out how to navigate the court. So when you're working with the court, you're in court, you want to maintain professionalism, both formal and informal dealing. And that means when you're at meetings with court stakeholders, you want to maintain your professionalism. You want to watch your appearance in court. What should you wear to court?
Flip-flop.
Flip-flops. Flip-flops. So wear whatever you want in court, but keep in mind your appearance is everything. If you want to be taken seriously, then you need to be professional. That's what I tell people, because I get arguments. How come I can't wear a polo? You can if you want, but that's fine. A polo's fine.
And it depends on the court too, because there's some courts where you go in and the attorney's in a ball,
That's
so.
true. Well, a t-shirt or whatever. know, but like, if you wanna be taken seriously, look serious and act professional. Your behavior in court, you wanna follow in line with the court. When I was trained in 1998, I was told to sit in back and watch what happens with the case, which was wrong, by the way. So, you know, you want to be involved with the case, but you also want to be comfortable with the case. You know, there are certain cases that I advocated for, and there were certain cases that I didn't because the person was antisocial. Like, you know, you can't, don't put yourself on the line for something you don't believe in. And there's cases like that where you're just like, oh my God, will they just send him to prison already? You know what I mean? So you have to, that's where you know your client as well. You want to watch your language in court. The courts typically, they just want the facts. They don't want clinical jargon usually. They're usually looking for solutions and recommendations. So don't be afraid to voice your opinion if you feel strongly about it. Now, I get a lot of questions on, well, I can't speak in court, and that's not actually true. The court will hear you. It doesn't mean that they'll follow your recommendations. They may qualify you, which is okay. The court can deem you an expert if they think you know some stuff, right? So they'll put you under oath and ask you probably, what do they ask you? What degree you have, huh?
Qualifications you have.
What are your qualifications? Usually what degree you have, where do you work, how long you've been working there. So don't feel like, well, I only have a bachelor's or whatever. Well, you have a bachelor's, that's great. You've been working, you know, under supervision of some experts, that's awesome. You've done like competency restoration, great, for this amount of years. So it's all those qualifying factors, and they will deem you an expert, and they will decide. So don't be afraid to say things if you can. You want to maintain a close working relationship with judicial assistants in the circuit, the public defenders, state attorneys, and the clerk of court. You want to develop a system for early identification of orders appointing experts so you can try to divert people that don't necessarily need to go to the hospital. Now, court, what else can we say about court? Dan and Erica. Are you guys leaving?
No,
Oh, okay.
What was the question?
Courts. What else?
Oh, we're thinking very
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, you're gonna get to know, you should get to know, not just the public defenders, but the state attorney, and you'll be dealing with the clerk of the court, because packets might be late, you wanna make sure, so you wanna have a good relationship with them. So-
And the judicial assistant to the
Yeah.
judge is probably central
Yeah.
because the JA will be the conduit through which most things happen.
Yeah, so the JA, so you're not supposed to communicate directly with the judge, so it all goes through the judicial assistant, so they're usually your best friend. Also too, I find that some of the judges don't know and the attorneys don't know what to do. They don't teach it in judges school, you know, they don't. There is judges school actually.
Is there?
So I had a meeting with Judge Pina, who's a sweetheart, and he was like, what's going on? It was about you, Jan.
Yeah.
And he didn't know that the forensic specialist, like, monitored clients that went to the state hospital and came back. He was like, how did I not know this? Am I the only judge that didn't know this? And I'm like, maybe, and I never even thought about that. So that's why it's important to talk to them, because they really don't know what you do. And that's a hesitation. If they don't know what you do, then they don't know what you know. You know, so it's wise to maybe sit down with them, let them know what you do, because there's many times where where I have like explained exactly what Day Springs is. And I'd be like, yeah, I went out there a couple weeks ago and Doug was out there and the clients, you know, it's like an old motel and they are really monitored, because what do judges want to know? They're monitored, they're taking their meds, they are in programs. That's what they want to know. So if you verbally paint them a picture of what that looks like, they'll be signing that order to Day Springs, because that's what they need, is that reassurance. I went there and Doug and I, we'll email and we, you know, they've got it. And that's the importance of you guys being there and them knowing what you do. So there's variations. Know your judge. Know the judge's tendencies. They will run the court however they want to run the court. And you need to know what that looks like. Can anyone describe a judge's tendencies? I'm trying to think
I
of
know
one.
our judge, when she picks up her glasses and cranes her neck, she's very angry. And she wants someone to give her some type of resolution.
Glasses off, crank the neck. Okay, all right. Now, when we changed judges, it was Judge Lott to Judge Nylon. And this was in Division 5 1,000 years ago. Judge Lott wanted me to write a report, and I was the only forensic specialist. For every single person, a written report, every single court date. So I'd come in with a stack of papers. And when Judge Nylon came on board, I came in with my stack of papers, and he was like, "What is all this for?" I'm like, "I don't know." That's great, you know. He didn't want all that. So knowing what their tendencies are, knowing what they want, knowing your JA, following up, keeping the judge informed. They want to know, because judges, what do they worry about?
Someone being hurt.
Someone being hurt by the client that they let out of jail that they thought was going to be monitored. Because judges are elected, and it's public perception. They are about community safety. So keep that in mind, is the judges are tough, but they don't want anyone getting hurt because of someone they let out of jail. So keep that in mind when you're advocating. It may not be, you know, you may be telling them some stuff, but it may not be about how they're gonna be assured that this person is gonna be monitored in a way that is keeping the public safe. Does that make sense? Okay. In court, you wanna watch what you say, because it's all recorded and videotaped. There's that. You want to pick your battles. You know, you'll get into court and, I don't know, the state attorney will start fighting with you. You just got to, like, not be emotional. And you know, and I'll just say her name because she works for DCF now. Pam Broadway. Man, she was like a rabid chick in court with me all the time. She'd always try to get my goat, and I was like, I was trying to help out. So you'll maybe come into times where you just need to chill out and pick your battles. It's not really a battle. They're just kind of doing their job, and some are in your face. Provide written reports for critical court hearings. So your critical court hearings for your incompetent to proceed are every 6 months. The statute actually says every 6 months and annually. So it really turns out to be every 6 months. Now, for incompetent to proceed, say you have somebody on conditional leave as incompetent to proceed, and you think they're competent now, you need to turn in a report as soon as you think they're competent. You don't have to wait till the 6-month report. Okay? Does that make sense? You want to provide collateral reports, psychosocial rehab, so any other information if you can to that report. that the judge and the court knows what's going on. You wanna know your attorneys, similar to your judge. Educate the attorneys about what you do. There's a state attorney. What does the state attorney worry about? Convictions. That's what they work for the state. They worry about public safety. That's it. Public safety. Public defender, they want, what's their angle? They want their client, they want least restrictive, they want their client out of jail. Private attorneys. Let me see. So, well, let me explain conflict attorneys first. So say your client is involved with a bank robbery with 3 other defendants, and they both qualify for a public defender because they're indigent. The first defendant will get someone from the public office of the public defenders. The second client will get the conflict attorney's office, which here is regional counsel. You guys have regional counsel? No? I'm wondering, yeah, I'm thinking that. So regional counsel, which is a conflict attorney, is another agency. Then your third client will go to a private attorney that's on a rotation for providing conflict attorney. So that means that some clients will have a private attorney even though they're indigent. Does that make sense? But some clients will have a private attorney because they pay for one. So, and just kind of to help you understand how private attorneys, now private attorneys typically, they're different. Let me see. But with all the attorneys, it's important to know what their role is and kind of what their angle is too, because I've had attorneys try to manipulate me. So just kind of be aware of that and what they're, not all, but some will try to sort of, I've had them sort of try to bully me to do stuff. You know what I mean? So if you're not feeling comfortable with one, something that the attorney wants you to do, make sure you run it by your supervisor, run it by Lauren, run it by me. You know what I mean? Because it might be that. And just because the attorney tells you to do something doesn't mean you have to do it. Because they may want a different thing. All right. You want to attend all of the 916 hearings. So that means the reviews for not guilty by reason of insanity cases are annual reviews, or unless there's an amendment or an issue or whatever. But those are the statutory regulations, or annual. You want to attend all of those. Even if your client is in the state hospital, you still want to attend them. So, to give them information and monitor the case.
Who schedules those hearings? The NGI annual
The
hearings?
court,
The court?
yeah. Actually, I found some cases, I know, that they
There's
don't.
nothing that happens.
Really? They don't schedule the annual? What county are you in?
St. John's?
Oh, St. John's.
I know there's been at least, I know there was one hearing. Years ago, but the court is very hands-off about this particular case.
I wonder what the deal is. The defense doesn't care?
I mean, there was, yeah.
Is there an issue with the case, or you just want?
It's, I mean, the person was, with the NGI, and he's on conditional release.
Right.
I don't know if
Just
that,
send in a report when it's due. at the
Yeah.
time,
it was I guess the way that.
They don't schedule it
was
even?
written, it wasn't, like, really, nothing was mandated as far as reporting in it. So
Oh, they close? I've had some, I know some counties, but that didn't really understand and they just closed them.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm surprised.
until a different judge comes in and says, why aren't we getting reports on this person?
Yeah, if you have issues like that, definitely contact me and Lauren and then see. Cause then we can get legal involved to like, hey man, you know, cause you shouldn't have to monitor your case indefinitely if the court's not even, if they don't care, they need to drop it.
I think that basically the way the initial release was written was that when our provider recommended the person be released from initial release.
Yeah, and that'll happen. It's typical, yeah, I think a lot of times it's that, cause they forget. And then there's different
But then they
attorneys
have to go through the legal process to do that.
Right.
to drop it, yeah, yeah.
Maybe one of the CCIS and see where it stands.
Yeah, look on, send me your form and then you can get on there and then. So attending hearings, you wanna make sure you're familiar with your cases, cause you never know when you may be called to talk about your cases. So, you don't wanna get up there like, I don't know anything. Be prepared at the hearings to discuss alternative dispositions, make arrangements if you can't attend. The courts typically need options, so they're not there to like give you a hard time. They're, you know, they're there, because they want you with your expertise to give them some options, give them some recommendations. Know your community evaluators in the evaluation process. Some evaluators have predictable assessments, so you probably know that, like certain evaluators, the state will hire because they will find everybody competent. Certain evaluators, the defense will hire because they will find everybody incompetent.
Or because they quit.
They're predictable. So a lot of areas are having evaluator events just to like network with the evaluators to like, and it's kind of cool because then the evaluators can know about alternatives because they need to address alternatives to state hospital. Now, inter circuit 916 transfers.